Hi, my name is Bob Slawson. I'm a network engineer with Kendall Electric. It is my pleasure today to talk to you about Stratix 2500 lightly managed switches and how you can use them in your networks in order to create a cost-effective solution. Before we get in any deeper, we're going to talk about hardware specs. The Stratix 2500 line of switches is a lightly managed switch, which is running a special version of Cisco iOS, which is the operating system that you may already be using in your already existing Cisco switches. So this will integrate nicely with an already existing Cisco environment. We have a 5-port and 8-port option for you available. The 8-port option and the 5-port option both offer 100 megabit speeds on their ports. We have a wide temperature range to work with here, from -20°C to 60 degrees Celsius. And we have a compact design that's going to fit well into your industrial enclosures without taking up too much space. Finally, we have a rugged metal design that's fully enclosed with a DIN rail mount on the back and an IP30 rating. This is going to allow you, along with the temperature range, to put this anywhere in your industrial environment and have this switch work reliably for you for a very long time. And that's it for the hardware specs. If you have a Stratix 2500 and you need to reset that device back to its factory default settings, let's take a look at how we would do that. This may be because you've somehow messed up your configuration, or you're not sure of the configuration that resides already in the Stratix switch. So, to perform a factory reset, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the EIP Mod Light to be flashing. We're going to take a small device, either like a pencil, which is what I'm using here, or a paper clip, and hold the Express Setup button down until we get a red and green alternating flash on the Setup button. Once this is complete, we should see that our switch reboots, and we should wait until we get the EIP Mod flashing again to know that we've done this correctly. Now that we've reset our switch back to its factory configuration, we're ready to perform our Express Setup. But first, before we plug into our switch, we have to make sure that our computer has the right settings in this network connections in order to talk to the switch. What we're going to do is we're going to go into a control panel, like I've done here. I have 2 Ethernet connections. You may have multiples. The one I'm concerned with is my Ethernet 3 connection. I'm going to click on Ethernet 3. I'm going to go to Properties. And what we're looking for in these options is Internet Protocol version 4 or TCP IPv4. We'll select that option and go to Properties. You want to make sure you have an IP address set automatically. And a DNS server address is automatically set as well. However, if these are not options for you, you can manually set the IP address by clicking the Use the following IP address option and typing in the IP address here, 169.254.0.2. Our subnet mask should be 255.255.255.0. And our default gateway should be 169.254.0.1. We're going to leave the DNS server set for blank as for now. I'm going to go back to the automatic IP address and the automatic DNS servers and click OK. Okay. Now we're ready to plug into our Stratix switch. In order to enter Express Setup mode, we're going to perform the following steps. First, we're going to lightly tap our Express Setup button until we see the Setup button flash. We should immediately start seeing port 1 start flash, and we will plug in our network connection to there. This should happen all very quickly and allow us to get our IP address from the switch automatically. Now that we have that set up, we can open up our favorite browser, whether that be Chrome or Microsoft Internet Explorer or Edge, and go to our panel and enter the IP address of 169.254.0.1. So let me do that now. And you may get this warning message saying your connection is not private. And this is okay and normal. What we're going to do is go to Advanced and continue to our website. And here we're greeted with the device manager of the switch. The default username and password is no username and switch as the password. This should take us to our device manager homepage where we can completely set up the switch and get it ready to deploy on our network. This may take just a second. Here under the Express Setup now, we can set our host name. So it could be switch or it could be anything that you would like it to be. I'm just going to leave this host name as switch. The management interface in VLAN, we would set according to our IT group and what their specifications are. And here we set our IP address for the switch going forward. Right now it's set to 169.254.0.1. We would set this IP address to this IP address we want the switch to reside at in our network. That may be 192.168.0.20, or it could be 10.10.20.1. That's really depending on your IP addressing scheme and your facilities. The default gateway should be set to the next switch or router in your network, the next higher switch or router in your network. Our primary DNS server would be our DNS server of our network. That could be a Active Directory in our Windows server. The NTP server would be our network time protocol server. This also could be another computer or an Active Directory server on our network. Here we're going to set the user name of the admin, which is by default set to admin, and we're going to create a password. I'm going to set my password to something that's easy to remember. In this case, Kendall1 with an exclamation mark. Finally, under advanced settings, I'm going to make sure I have an CIP enabled. I'm going to set my CIP VLAN, its IP address for the CIP network, or this could be the same as your management VLAN. We could also enable SSH, where we could use SSH to get into the switch and use Cisco iOS on the terminal if we wanted. Finally, I'm going to hit submit. So what we've done here is we've set the IP address to what we want it to be for the switch. In my case, I left mine to 169.254.0.1. It could be something else on your network, and this is where you would go in and type in the new IP address of the switch once it's configured. In my case, it's the same, so I'm going to leave it. Now that we're at the login page of our newly set up switch, we can enter the credentials that we had before. So mine was admin and Kendall1 with an exclamation point. And finally, log in. This brings us to our dashboard. Here we can see the host name that we set, the switch's current IP address, its MAC address, what product we have, in this case an LMS8, which is an 8-port Stratix 2500 switch, our serial number, and what images we're using for our firmware. Here we can see what connections we actively have on our switch, as well as the switch health as far as CPU utilization and temperature. We have a lot of features to discuss in these switches, which we'll cover in future videos. So make sure you subscribe and follow us on YouTube, as well as our other social media channels, in order to stay up to date with the latest. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you for your time today. The Stratix 2500 is a great switch that you can use in your networks to provide cost-effective solutions in a lightly managed environment. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.